I'm Ed Jackson from Atlanta, Georgia, and been from the South all my life. 97, isn't that right? 97.
Yes.
Well, I graduated from high school, and that was at the beginning of the war. And I went to the movies, and they had these short things about enlisting in the service and all. And this plane came swooping down, and out came Jimmy Stewart. And he said, if you pass this 2-year exam, college exam, you can join now, and you will be a part of the Army Air Force. No more ever worrying about being drafted or anything. All you got to do is be able to pass the 2-year college exam when you are less than that. So that's the reason I became a pilot. Well, you won't believe it, but the first place we signed up in Atlanta, got on the train, and the first place they sent us was Miami Beach. That's a heck of a start to a career. And they loaded us on trains and sent us around the country to colleges. Stayed there 2 to 3 months for a little training and looking at the stars or whatever. And then we were then promoted out to the West Coast and around for real flying. Well, that was just a hope. But, I mean, everybody assumed it was going to be a bombardier. You can't do anything else, you can be a bombardier. And the next was navigator, and then pilot training. This was as being promoted and feeling like you were hot stuff. So, but as it was just we went in as a big group, and our training over the year, 1 year usually, we pretty well stayed together. We split up some from promotion time every 30 or 60 days until we finally graduated, and then we were sorted to various crews formed around the country and formed crews, and from that the crews went overseas for the rest of the war. Yeah. All of that was leading up to finally having a crew, and there was students from bombardiers, navigators. I guess some of them washed out completely, got us passed, got back in somewhere. That's all you work for, is that crew getting promoted through the training and staying together when you were sent overseas. Oh, I wanted to, but I just dreamed of it. No, I was going to be a navigator.
Okay.
Well, if I'm a CPA, now that should show you what my life was. Navigation, I was qualified for navigation, none of this pilot stuff. Take the exams and so forth, and the exams came out, and they read my name on the pilot board. We practiced at the field after we were assigned one, and right. And I'm sure that we had a pilot fly with us. Yeah, well, just ordinary things. You'd want to get the experience of the radio and how it worked between fields and command and so forth. So there was regular training after you got there for a while. Various things. Well, it was our own crew. I mean, that was fellas I'd been flying with ever since Miami Beach, so there was nothing new. And that was it. We would go fly the first mission and flew. And usually there was one experienced person that would sat out that mission, maybe a tail gunner or someone doesn't fly, and that's an experienced guy picked up the credit for a mission by just filling in that way. On the first mission, you usually had someone with you. Right. I was in 22, because I really wasn't in the war real long. I was early in 45 and through the end of the war, but less than a year. And I was delayed in my job application to the job, so I didn't get my missions in fast, put it that way. Oh, we weren't too happy with any of them. I don't know. Being forewarned about, obviously there's some that you knew were going to be heavily instead of being a small town for some reason that they got on the target list. But we remembered certain big cities and big operations that were worse than others, and you hated it when they pulled the screen back and you saw what your target for the day was. When you went in the instruction room, until that time, you didn't know where you were going that day. And then it sat in the room, and the CO of the base would greet everybody and wake them up and pull the screen, and there it is. And everybody who knows. That was the way you got it. I mean, the CO showed you. And then you had navigators and bombardiers that do instructions from that point about that particular mission and that particular target. The CO would leave and go back to the headquarters or wherever he was. But he would usually be the one to show announce what the target for the day was. Right. Well, the pilots and co-pilots were the ones that I was just talking about, because the enlisted men, gunners and so forth, and bombardiers usually had their own separate, they may after a brief period pull them over to finish with the pilot training, but they would start out with their own training group, particularly bombardiers. They would have studied the target and everything before they came over. Oh, yeah, the officers' club is automatic. I mean, that was it. Every time you flew, when you landed, why, you were always ready to go to the officers' club. Whether drinking or eating or what. You didn't go sit down in the hut. And you didn't have a pass to go to the village or the town, so officers' club was it. Yeah, we had passes, all right. Various times during the war, passes were easier to get than otherwise, just because of the missions and the type of the war. But yeah, we had when we asked for a pass, for instance, well, usually it would be 3 days, long enough to get to London to have a nice time. So you wasn't going to waste a pass. Not going down to London, so, right? That was usually the area that we went to. different. It was ordinary briefing and everything, and announcing where the target was, and I was to fly in the second plane as deputy controller for the entire mission. The leader was in the first plane. Then I rode in the co-pilot seat as second in command, and that was the only thing that was different from an ordinary crew and ordinary mission. The pilot, well, the co-pilot on the lead plane was replaced by the leader of the group, the colonel or whatever, and the co-pilot in the second plane, which was me, was we replaced an ordinary co-pilot. And we were just ready to say something over the mic if they all wanted us to, I guess. No, we didn't have much of a job. The second in command, everything was so automatic. Remember, it wasn't the big celebration where we were that I've seen pictures of the big crowds and all. No, well, first place we were confined to base. If we were on the base and they announced the war was over, they froze the people on that base to keep them from taking off for London and every other city. Yeah, so I didn't go anywhere for D-Day. I went or B-Day. I was on the base, had to stay on the base for a day or two before I got to visit London, like everybody else. We flew into Austria, and where the French and other soldiers were in they released that, saved that particular camp. The Germans took it over, and then the Americans came in, and those particular soldiers, there were so many of them to be sent back to their home country and all. Then the B-7, the 8th Air Force, devoted its B-17s to maybe 2 crewmen, maybe 2 pilot, co-pilot, and a crewman to fly into Austria or wherever and load it with prisoners of war that had been released. By having plywood in the bomb bay and around, I could pack it in pretty good as far as bringing them home. But, back to France. We just fly them back to France and unload them there in France and let them worry about them from then on, and we go back and get another load. But that was the war was, I guess, technically over. There was a period of time, the fighting was over and so forth. Well, no, they were very, very comfortable. Just about this size, a little narrower and a little longer, and with a stove right in the middle of the room there. I don't know whether, and it varied from hut to hut based on the personnel and the ranking. The colonel had full one across the road from me, but maybe 8 to 1 down to 1 or 2 for the high officer. Usually at least 8, 4 down each side, and aisle and stove in the middle of the room.